Marcus was 37 when he first saw her. It was a cloudy afternoon during a local outreach event at the edge of town. Volunteers had gathered at a foster care picnic to play with the kids, hand out sandwiches, and take photos for brochures that never really changed anything. That's when Marcus noticed her. A little girl around 8 years old sat on the edge of the field alone. Her shirt was a faded pink, slightly too big for her small frame. Her hair, light brown and straight, was tied into 2 short pigtails. She had light skin and features that set her apart. The other children laughed and ran circles in the grass, but she stayed on the sidelines, grinning at no one in particular, her fingers tapping an invisible tune on her knees. He watched her for a while. No one spoke to her. Some glanced her way, then looked off just as quickly. And still, there she was, smiling. Marcus didn't know her name, but something about the way she beamed at the sky pulled him in. He sat down beside her. "Hey there," he said gently. She looked up. Her eyes were wide, sparkling with curiosity. "Hi," she replied, like they'd known each other for years. "What's your name?" "Eliza." "Nice to meet you, Eliza. I'm Marcus." They talked for 30 minutes, mostly about nothing and everything. She liked bubblegum, coloring books, and stories about brave dogs. She had a small notebook where she drew trees, and her favorite shape was a triangle. When someone called for snacks, she got up and ran off, waving at him without hesitation. And that was that. He couldn't stop thinking about her afterward. The orphanage director said Eliza had been there since she was a baby, that she had Down syndrome, and most families turned her down right after asking what special needs meant. She was smart, they said, but slow. Loving, but unpredictable. They told him it would be hard, maybe even heartbreaking. Marcus listened, nodded, and 2 weeks later, he returned with paperwork in hand. Everyone thought he was crazy. "You've never had kids, you work 2 jobs. She'll need more than love, Marcus." But he didn't care. He had grown up without a father himself. Maybe that's why he couldn't walk away. Eliza came home with him on a Sunday morning. She wore the same pink shirt and carried only a pillow with hand-stitched flowers on it. The ride back was quiet, but every time he looked at her through the rear-view mirror, she smiled. His house wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, faded couch, a fridge that hummed louder than the TV, but it was hers now too. He set up her room with posters of cartoon puppies and glow-in-the-dark stars. Got her a small bookshelf and filled it with second-hand picture books. Every morning before work, he made her oatmeal and laid out her clothes. Every night before bed, he read her 1 story, sometimes 2 if she asked nicely. And every time she struggled, whether it was with counting numbers or tying her shoes, he sat down with her, never once raising his voice. Eliza called him M. She clung to him during thunderstorms and asked him to brush her hair before school. And when the other kids laughed at her for the way she spoke, she ran to him at pickup time, holding back tears. He always crouched down, met her eyes, and said, "You're one of a kind, baby girl." That means the world wasn't ready. But I was. And that was enough for her, for now. Because slowly Eliza started to believe it too. Some nights Marcus would fall asleep on the couch, still wearing his work boots, only to wake up with a small blanket draped over him and a poorly drawn crayon heart beside his head that read, "I love you, M." He kept them all, every note, every scribbled card, every shaky drawing. His wallet carried a picture of her holding up a birthday cake, teeth missing, icing on her nose. He missed promotions because she had doctor's appointments. Declined weekend jobs when her school had a music recital, though she rarely sang. But Marcus clapped louder than anyone else, even when she froze up on stage. Their life was far from perfect, but it was real. And it was filled with quiet moments that stitched together something close to family. By the time Eliza was 12, she could cook scrambled eggs, read short novels, and draw comics about a superhero cat that saved grocery stores. And every time someone asked Marcus why he did it, why he chose a girl nobody else wanted, he'd smile and say, She didn't need fixing, just someone to stand beside her. And he meant it, because deep inside he knew he didn't just adopt Eliza to change her life. She had already started changing his. 28 years later, Marcus's hair had grayed at the temples. His knees cracked when he stood, and he groaned every time he got up from the couch. But he still had the same gentle eyes, the ones that made people feel seen. He had long since retired from the sawmill. Now he spent most of his time tending to a small garden, helping the neighbors fix their fences, and watching reruns of detective shows he already knew the endings to. But every day he waited for Eliza's voice. She no longer lived with him. She'd moved into a small studio apartment in town a few years earlier. She said it was time to grow, to learn independence. Marcus had agreed, reluctantly. But she never missed a Sunday dinner, never forgot his birthday, never stopped calling him M. What he didn't know was that for the last year, Eliza had been working on something big, something secret. She had taken a job as an illustrator for a children's publishing house. Quietly, without fanfare, she worked mornings, nights, even weekends, saving every penny she could. No online shopping, no fancy food. Every time she drew a happy child in her books, she thought of herself and of him. It wasn't just money she was saving, it was a thank you. One Saturday morning she called him. "Dress nice, Em," she said, barely able to contain her excitement. "I'm picking you up?" He chuckled. "Is this about that art gallery thing again?" "Nope," she said. "Just trust me." They drove out past the edge of town through winding roads lined with tall grass and old fences. The sun was high, and birds danced above them in the wind. Eventually, they pulled up to a long gravel driveway. At the end stood a beautiful two-story house, white walls, sky blue shutters, and a wide wraparound porch with a rocking chair already set out. Marcus blinked. "Whose house is this?" Eliza parked the car, got out, and came around to his side. She handed him a small envelope. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a deed. His name was printed clearly at the top. "I bought this for you," she said softly, tears already forming in her eyes. "You gave me everything when I had nothing. Now it's my turn." Marcus was speechless. "I saved, worked double jobs, skipped vacations," she continued, her voice shaking. "I wanted to give you something that didn't leak in the winter, where the stove didn't break every other week." She took his hand. "This is your home now, Em. You gave me a life. I wanted to give you rest." He stared at her, overwhelmed. His throat tightened and his voice cracked. "Baby girl, you didn't have to do this." "I know," she said, smiling through tears, "but I wanted to." "You never let me feel broken. You told me I was worth loving, even when the world didn't. That's something I carry with me every single day." They walked inside. The floors were polished wood, warm and golden. The living room had a soft recliner with a stitched pillow on it that read, "M's Throne." On the mantel above the fireplace, framed drawings from her childhood were neatly arranged. Crayon portraits of Marcus with crooked smiles, hearts with "I love you, M," and little stick figures holding hands under rainbows. The kitchen smelled like lemon and honey. On the table sat a plate of his favorite cookies, still warm. "Did you do all this?" he asked, wiping his eyes. "Every bit." She grinned. "Even baked the cookies. Don't worry, I followed the recipe this time." He chuckled, then pulled her close, burying his face in her shoulder. "You saved me, Eliza," he whispered. "I thought I was rescuing you that day, but it was the other way around, wasn't it?" She nodded against his chest. "We rescued each other." Later that night, they sat on the porch watching the stars come out. Fireflies blinked in the tall grass. Marcus rocked slowly in his chair, a blanket draped over his knees. "You know," he said, "when I first brought you home, people said I was crazy." "I remember," Eliza replied with a smile. "But look at us now." "You were never a burden," he said suddenly. "Never. You were the biggest blessing I ever had." She reached out, squeezed his hand. "And you were the first person who saw me as more than a diagnosis. You were my home, before I knew what one even was." Silence settled between them. But it wasn't empty. It was full of years of memories, of unconditional love. Marcus leaned back, staring at the stars. "This house is beautiful. You deserve beautiful things," she whispered. And for the first time in a long time, Marcus didn't feel tired or old. He felt loved, safe, home. He turned to look at her, glowing under the soft porch light. "I'm proud of you, Eliza." "I'm proud of you too, Em." And there, under the open sky, the man who once gave everything to a girl nobody wanted finally got everything he never asked for, but always deserved.